Proxime Prices, Placnetne tibi ut officium incipiet.
Now I get to say the word plaquette for reasons I will explain later, but I would ask you all to remain standing for the invocation and traditional Walastuk Maliseet welcome given by our own elder-in-residence, Imelda Purley.
Kulasi kopa, walastaguikuk, ladwewagnan yud nilan wajayawik, Genagadiwi komag, Jibeno Kewiak, Saunas no Kewiak, Guskias no Kewiak, Nagalata West no Kewiak. I'm going to invite all of our ancestors to come and honor your earth walk today. I'm going to honor the four directions to the east, the south, the west, and the north, because in our life journey, we visit each of those directions in our personal life, in our professional life, and in life itself. Creator, I thank you for the birth of all of the humans that are here today. We give gratitude for the love in all our hearts today, the joy that everybody is feeling. We give gratitude for that. Abjil Gilway Ginsuzig, Chutbedopanik Tehinian, we give gratitude to the ancestors that we come from, those 7 generations before us that are smiling. There'll be so many stars tonight because your ancestors have been happy because of your journeys. We ask and give gratitude for the direction of the north where all wisdom is, and we're all headed to that journey of wisdom. And I welcome our guests for the west that have come here, our Assembly of First Nations Chief Sean Atleo. I welcome you to our territory. There is a gift for him later on of moccasins, because when you come to our territory, we expect people to take care of, walk in beauty in those moccasins. And so there's medicine in the moccasins that he'll be receiving, as did Paul Martin. And there's a symbol of, as long as the sun shines, the grass grows and the rivers flow. We've made a promise to each nation that we will abide by the promises we made to each other and live in harmony with each other. You may sit down now. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder Purley. Among those ancestors, Imelda, to whom you referred, we count Gwen Bear, who will be missed in our very first Aboriginal elder here at the University of New Brunswick, who tragically we lost just a couple of years ago. I want to explain at the front end of this ceremony, you heard some Latin, started with the words amplissimi praeses, and to officially open the convocation, I'm supposed to say plaquette, and I failed to do so before the vice-regal salute. Just explaining what happened to you, so you know. I do want to take this opportunity to introduce our platform party to you, and I would ask that you hold your applause until the end, and as you may have noted, we have a rather large party today, not least because of our honoring of you, our graduates, but because we have 2 very distinguished honorary graduands, as well as we're installing our new Chancellor today. Members of the platform, when I call your name, I would ask that you please briefly stand. Joining me on stage, our National Chief, Sean Atleo, honorary degree recipient. The Right Honorable Paul Martin, honorary degree recipient. Fredericton, former UNB Chancellor. Richard J. Curry, Chancellor Emeritus. Alison McCain, UNB Chancellor, and soon to be installed in that role. The Honorable Jody Carr, New Brunswick Minister of Post-Secondary Education, Training and Labor. Imelda Purley, UNB's Elder-in-Residence. Anthony Secco, UNB Vice President, Fredericton, Academic. Gwendolyn Davies, our University Orator. Ed Biden, the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies. Bob Skillen, Vice President, Advancement. David Burns, Vice President, Research. Robert McKinnon, Vice President, St. John. Barry Craig, Vice President, Academic and Research from our sister institution sharing our campus, St. Thomas University. The Honorable Graydon Nicholas, Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick. Mark Bedard, President of our Associated Alumni. Miriam Jones, President of the Association of UNB Teachers and Associate Professor of English at UNB in St. John. Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Hart. Aldea Laundrie, Chancellor at l'Université Sainte-Anne. Catherine McCain, Chair of UNB's Board of Governors. Mayor Brad Woodside, Mayor of the City of Fredericton. Andrew McAllister, Assistant Dean of Computer Science. Stephen Hurd, Dean of Science. Wolfgang Feig, President of UNB's Retired Employees Association. Brianna DeLong, student and recipient of the Andrew and Marjorie McCain Scholarship. Maureen Sparks, Communications and Special Events Manager with the UNB Varsity Reds. Karen Cunningham, the university's Comptroller. Roxanne Fairweather, a member of our Board of Governors. Brian Baxter, Vice Chair of our Board of Governors. David Stevenson, a member of our Board of Governors Emeritus. Greg Keeley, former Vice President Research and Provost. Tom Good, member of UNB's Board of Governors. Shelley Pelkey, member of UNB's Board of Governors. Heather Nielsen, who is not here on the stage, but is a member of our Board of Governors. Heather, give us a wave from wherever you are. Karen Taylor, President of our Associated Alumni. Margaret Grant McGivney, member of our Board of Governors. Paul Dowling, aide-de-camp to the Lieutenant Governor. Wayne Albert, Dean of Kinesiology. Devashis Mitra, our Dean of Business. John Ball, Acting Dean of Arts. Anne Sherman, Dean of Education. Gail Storr, Dean of Nursing. Cynthia Stacy, Dean of Renaissance College. Dimitris Trifonopoulos, Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies. Van Lance, Dean of Forestry and Environmental Management. David Coleman, Dean of Engineering. Sarah Deverin, University Secretary. Paul Morrison, member of our Board of Governors. Scott Britton, member of our Board of Governors. Larry Hashey, member of our Board of Governors. David Woolnow, member of UNB's Board of Governors. And I'm Eddie Campbell, your President and Vice Chancellor. Thank you all for being a part of this special day. Your Honor, Mr. Premier, Your Worship, Mr. Chancellor Designate, members of the Board of Governors, honorary degree recipients, most especially our graduates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this, one of our favorite days of the year, our Fall Convocation ceremony. I want to offer a special welcome to our graduates. We're all very proud of the work that you have done. I hope that you are proud too. And I see that many of you have friends and family who have gathered here. They are no doubt just as happy as you are and perhaps a little relieved as well. You are taking part in a very old ceremony, a tradition that goes back to the founding of the university in 1785. You've worked hard for your own betterment, but it might surprise you to realize that for many of us, we believe you are contributing to the betterment of all of us. There have been some recent stories, a kind of narrative that's occurring in the media that would suggest to you perhaps that your university degree is not as valuable as those who have gone before you have found it. I do want to tell you that I believe that to be false. There is study after study that shows several important things about university graduates, namely that they are happier. The more education you have, the more job satisfaction you have. You are healthier, you live longer, you're more likely to get a job, you are more likely to keep a job, and it's also true you will make more money. It's our hope, however, that you leave here with the skills and the attitudes and the knowledge that will never go out of style, how to think critically, how to solve problems, how to make informed decisions, how to communicate, how to hear and listen to differing points of view, and how to adapt to changing circumstances. We believe you are well positioned not only to launch your careers, but for your future as engaged citizens of this country and of this world. We are very keen to see you make a significant difference after you leave us. Convocation is for you, as for us, a time of transition, and today that is doubly true. This afternoon, we bid fond farewell to UNB's fifth modern-day Chancellor, Dr. Richard J. Curry, and we officially install Dr. Alison McCain as his worthy successor. The Chancellorship of UNB is a time-honored role, almost as old as the university itself. Many distinguished individuals have held this role, including King's College founder, Sir Howard Douglas, and New Brunswick Chief Justice Ward Chipman. Our modern chancellorship began in 1946, when Max Aitken, also known as Lord Beaverbrook, was appointed to the position. Lord Beaverbrook transformed the office. Though his appointment was honorary, his involvement in the life of the institution was anything but. He worked tirelessly for our university, raising money, providing much of his own, winning friends, influencing decision makers, making the lives of UNB presidents a lot more interesting than they had to be, but also more rewarding. Don't tell Alison McCain, but I'm told that Lord Beaverbrook required the president to turn over his house when he returned to town. Hope you're not listening. Lord Beaverbrook was followed by two members of his family, his son, Sir Max Aitken, and then by his daughter-in-law, Lady Violet Aitken. Each of them continued to represent and support this institution generously and gracefully from 1964 to 1992. In 1993, alumnus Frederick S. Eaton was appointed as our Chancellor, and for a decade he served his alma mater with great distinction. His active engagement continued the modern tradition of support and guidance and advocacy begun by Lord Beaverbrook 50 years earlier. That tradition was upheld in spades by our current Chancellor, Dr. Richard Curry. Over the last decade, Dr. Curry has provided valuable and guidance and counsel to the university, people such as myself. He also created one of the most prized undergraduate scholarships in the country, sharing yet more of his time and his counsel for the scholars who bear the name of Curry Scholars here. He built this building in which we find ourselves, this magnificent place, this wonderful convocation hall. This building houses many wonderful initiatives at the university, not the least of which is the Andrew and Marjorie McCain Human Performance Lab, 2 floors beneath us, where UNB researchers recently helped to develop the world's first smart prosthetic limb. Dr. Curry steps down today as Chancellor, but we will not let him get away that easily. There's a reserved parking spot with his name on it just outside the front doors here, and it already has his new title on it, UNB Chancellor Emeritus. Won't you please join me once again in thanking Dr. Curry for his 10 years of support and stewardship. Alison McCain succeeds Dr. Curry as our Chancellor, and he is no stranger to our university. He's a friend, an alumnus, a volunteer, and an honorary degree recipient. A few years back, he was instrumental in helping us set a fundraising record in Atlantic Canada with the Forging Our Futures campaign. He has a reputation for being a gifted leader and an empathetic manager, and this reputation is well-deserved. He has long been recognized both nationally and internationally as a person of great vision and integrity. His UNB degree is in electrical engineering. For a while, he worked for the New Brunswick Telephone Company, but then in 1975 accepted a position with McCain Foods as a project engineer. And at McCain's, he has worked in just about every job over the next 32 years before finally becoming the chair. Today, McCain Foods, as you likely know, is a world leader in frozen foods, produce, and transportation, with operations on 6 continents emanating from 50 different plants. He's also a tremendous volunteer and philanthropist. He supports several national and community-based nonprofit initiatives and guides the advancement of important causes like ours, education, and the arts. We are therefore delighted and honored that Dr. McCain has agreed to serve as UNB's 6th modern-day Chancellor. I'm now pleased to call upon His Honor, Graydon Nicholas, Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick, the Honorable Jody Carr, a UNB alumnus and New Brunswick's Minister of Post-Secondary Education, Training and Labor, Dr. Richard Curry, Chancellor Emeritus, Dr. Frederick Eaton, UNB Chancellor from 1993 to 2003, and Allison's sister, Kathy McCain, who's chair of our Board of Governors, to assist in the installation proceedings.
Dr. Allison McCain, it's an honor on behalf of Premier David Alward and on behalf of the government of the province of New Brunswick, my pleasure to report to His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, our approval of your appointment to the office of Chancellor of the University of New Brunswick. Your Honor, the government of the province of New Brunswick has invited Dr. Allison McCain to accept appointment to the office of Chancellor of the University of New Brunswick. The Board of Governors of this university has concurred in that invitation, to which Dr. McCain himself has graciously accepted. The necessary legislation has been enacted, and the required orders in council have been passed.
As Her Majesty's representative in the province of New Brunswick, and on her behalf, I take pleasure in approving the appointment of Dr. Allison McCain to the office of the Chancellor of the University of New Brunswick.
Except for Allison.
We now invite representatives of the university community to offer greetings to our new Chancellor. Speaking on behalf of the UNB Associate Alumni is President Mark Bedard.
On behalf of the University of New Brunswick's Associated Alumni, I am very pleased to bring greetings to Alison McCain, the 6th modern-day Chancellor of the University of New Brunswick. UNB's alumni wish to welcome you to your new role, and we look forward to working with you, a fellow alumnus, to advance the interests of our alma mater. Mr. Chancellor, we wish you good fortune, enjoyment, and success as you embark on this new adventure.
Bringing greetings on behalf of the St. John campus is Dr. Robert McKinnon, Vice President, St. John.
On behalf of the faculty, staff, and students of the UNB St. John campus, I'm thrilled to bring greetings to our new Chancellor, Alison McCain. We are looking forward to working with you, and we know that under your guidance and leadership, our university will respond to the ever-changing needs of the 21st century.
Bringing greetings on behalf of the Fredericton campus is Dr. Anthony Secco, Vice President, Fredericton Academic.
On behalf of the students, faculty, and staff of the University of New Brunswick Fredericton campus, I'm honored to bring greetings to UNB's new Chancellor, Alison McCain. Dr. McCain, like UNB, your work has contributed a great deal to New Brunswick's overall health and well-being. I know that your leadership abilities and broad range of skills will prove to be of great benefit to this university as we continue to build a better province, region, and country. Since you are an alumnus of this great university, my welcome to you today is a welcoming home. Mr. Chancellor, congratulations on your appointment as the 6th modern-day Chancellor of the University of New Brunswick. I speak for the entire Fredericton campus when I say we look forward to working with you over the coming years.
Speaking on behalf of the faculty is Dr. Miriam Jones, Associate Professor of English at UNB St. John and President of the Association of University of New Brunswick Teachers.
On behalf of the faculty, I'd like to welcome you, Dr. McCain, as our 6th modern-day Chancellor. A university, as I'm sure you all know, is a community centered around scholars, teachers, and learners. And it's a community that the wider community counts on and supports and has a big interest in. And the board, made up of members from that larger community and represented by the Chancellor, is emblematic of the interest that the wider community has in the university. And I would like to invite you, Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty, to please stop us and talk to us at any point. We're welcoming you into our community, and that's what we do here. We talk and share ideas, and we're very much looking forward to doing that with you, sir.
Bringing greetings from the staff is Ms. Maureen Sparks, Communications and Events Manager with the UNB Varsity Reds.
Dr. McCain, on behalf of the staff here at the University of New Brunswick, I'm truly honored to bring you greetings on this memorable occasion. All of the staff at this fine university are very happy to welcome you as UNB's 6th modern-day Chancellor, and we look forward to assisting you and working with you as together we face the challenges that lie ahead. May your term of office be distinguished by success, achievement, and a bright, rewarding future.
Speaking on behalf of retired faculty and staff is Dr. Wolfgang Feg, Professor and Dean Emeritus in Engineering, and President of the University of New Brunswick Retired Employees Association.
On behalf of the UNB Retired Employees Association, I'm pleased to welcome you and give greeting as our new Chancellor. The UNB retirees welcome you and look forward to working with you. And although we are retired, we remain an active part of the UNB family and offer you our support. And anytime you want to come meet with us, we are here. May your term as Chancellor be characterized by success. May UNB to continue to grow and blossom under your leadership.
Speaking on behalf of the students is Ms. Brianna DeLong, recipient of the Andrew and Marjorie McCain Scholarship. This scholarship is supported by Chancellor McCain and his siblings in memory of their parents.
As a recipient of the Andrew and Marjorie McCain Scholarship, and on behalf of the University of New Brunswick, I am honored to bring greetings to Alison McCain, the 6th modern-day Chancellor of UNB. The students are pleased to welcome you and look forward to partnering with you in facing the challenges that lie ahead. May your term of office be characterized by success, achievement, and the good fortune that is the just reward of good leadership.
We are pleased that many universities have sent written greetings on this special occasion. I would ask David Burns, the Vice President Research, to come forward to read the names of the universities.
I am pleased to share that the following universities have sent written greetings to the Chancellor McCain: Carleton University, Crandall University, Concordia University, Dalhousie University, Grant MacEwan University, Huron University College, Kwantlen Polytechnic University, the University of Manitoba, McGill University, Memorial University of Newfoundland, University de Moncton, Mount Allison University, Mount St. Vincent University, University of Northern British Columbia, University of Ontario Institute of Technology, University de Quebec of Montreal, University of Regina, Ryerson University, St. Jerome's University, St. Mary's University, the University of St. Michael's College, St. Paul's College, St. Thomas University, University of Saskatchewan, University de Sherbrooke, University of Toronto, Vancouver Island University, University of Victoria, Victoria University and the University of Toronto, University of Waterloo, and Wilfrid Laurier University. These greetings will be on display at the Convocation receptions in the Student Union Building immediately following the reception. Please take a look.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. It is now my pleasure to invite Chancellor Alison McCain to address this convocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Honor, Mr. President, members of the Board of Governors, honorary degree recipients, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, graduates. Today, it is my honor to assume the role of Chancellor of the University. I do so with a sense of pride and humility, and I'm very well aware of the fact that I'm stepping into a wonderful tradition that dates back to 1785. It's also an honor for me to follow in the footsteps of two previous chancellors who are here on stage today, Dr. Fredericton and Dr. Richard Curry. Both individuals embody the entrepreneurial spirit and the social compassion that is so typical of this university. Despite their many and varied interests, they have made important and tangible contributions to the university. Their involvement, frankly, is a clear demonstration that they believe UNB matters and that UNB can make a positive contribution in the lives of its students, the province, and the country. UNB has a tradition, I think, of intermingling two things: a first-class education on the one hand, and the principles of entrepreneurship and innovation on the other. And I'm not just talking about the kind of entrepreneurship that generates great wealth, although that's probably not necessarily a bad thing. I'm talking about scientific innovation, like Kevin Engelhardt's cutting-edge research that developed the world's first smart prosthetic limb. I'm also talking about social entrepreneurship, the idea that best practices of business, for example, can be brought to bear on some of the problems that plague our society today, such as poverty and climate change. And I'm talking about the substantial amount of research we're now doing here at UNB. It's doing some of the most best research that you'll find, certainly in the Maritimes and in generally competing with everybody in Canada. But all this research, the real question is, how do we take that research and get it out into our communities and more quickly and working for our benefit? But today, graduates, today, frankly, is your day. Thank you for allowing us to share in your success. Your hard work, your talent, and your drive have paid off. Whether you realize it or not, you have grown over the course of your study here at UNB. You've matured, you've amassed considerable knowledge and skills, and you've developed leadership abilities that will serve you well in the rapidly changing world of today. A good education is important, but what is more important is what you do with that education. You've been given the tools that will enable you to make a real and substantial difference in this world. Dare I suggest that you in fact have an obligation to use those skills to make that difference. So graduates, I want to congratulate you once again. I believe you are well prepared to enter the real world. But what I would suggest is that you enjoy today, relax, savor the moment, and tomorrow, frankly, let's get going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chancellor McCain. Words to remember and live by. To celebrate this occasion, the St. John's String Quartet will play the Trumpet Voluntary by Jay Clark. Thank you very much. Always a treat. At this time, I'd like to draw your attention to page 10 of the program. The medals that are listed there can be picked up by the students receiving them at the Financial Services Office in the IUC building. On behalf of the university, I want to congratulate all of the recipients and express the hope that they will maintain the high standards which they have demonstrated in qualifying these awards long into the future. Now ask our Vice President Fredericton academic, Dr. Anthony Secco, to assist the Lieutenant Governor with the presentation of the Governor General's Gold Medal and the Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick Silver Medal in Education.
The Governor General's academic medals were created in 1873 to encourage academic excellence across the nation. Over the years, they have become the most prestigious awards students in Canadian schools can receive. This afternoon, we will announce the recipient of the award representing the highest level of achievement, the Governor General's Gold Medal for Academic Excellence in Graduate Studies. All students completing a master's thesis or report or a doctoral program at UNB in a given year are eligible to be considered for the award. I am pleased to announce that the Governor General's Gold Medal for 2013 goes to Eric Sheme, who received a PhD in engineering at Insignia last May. Through the generosity of His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, a silver medal is awarded to the outstanding graduate student in each of the faculties on the Fredericton campus. A medal for education is awarded at fall convocation. The Lieutenant Governor's silver medal in education is awarded to Corey Andrew Harvey. Mr. Harvey is unable to be with us this afternoon, but please join me in a round of applause in recognition of his accomplishments.
As our graduates will well know, vital to our success as a university is the high quality of our teaching, and it is appropriate that we should formally acknowledge this fact. I would like to once again call upon Dr. Secco to introduce the recipient of the Dr. Alan P. Stewart Memorial Award for Excellence in Teaching.
The Dr. Alan P. Stewart Memorial Award for Excellence in Teaching was established by the University Senate in 1972 to recognize teaching excellence on the part of some of the many teachers of whom this university is very proud. Each year, a committee of Senate, composed of faculty and students, selects the recipients of this award from nominations made primarily by students. For 2013, the Alan P. Stewart Memorial Award for Excellence in Teaching is being presented to Jason Golding. I would like to invite Alexander Carr, fourth-year forestry student and one of Mr. Golding's students, to the platform to read his citation.
Very enthusiastic about teaching. Very friendly, caring, and open to help with anything, even unrelated course material. He gives us opportunities to direct ourselves. He is the best teacher I've had in 5 years of post-secondary education. These are just a few of the comments about Mr. Jason Golding from us, his students. A senior instructor in the Faculty of Forestry and Environmental Management, Mr. Golding is one of the most enthusiastic teachers in this faculty. Good teachers know how to engage their students and know how to get them to enjoy learning. This is Mr. Golding to a T. One of his most effective teaching techniques is his ability to make concepts real by using hands-on lab exercises. For example, in his Engineered Systems in Natural Resources course, he uses snow to get his students to build structures. He is among the faculty's most active instructors in using field labs to address real-world challenges to natural resources management. Over the last 6 years, Mr. Golding has taught 14 different courses in the faculty. They range from introductory courses to senior capstones and graduate courses. Mr. Golding is genuinely concerned about his students' educational experience and wants them to succeed. According to one of his students, his marking system is unique and awesome. For example, Mr. Golding has developed and applied what he terms an evidence-based active learning approach in which students are given multiple opportunities to demonstrate a variety of competencies. One advantage of this approach is that it conveys quite clearly what the expectations are of students and how marks are assigned. Mr. Golding not only has high standards for his students, but high standards for himself as a teacher. It is because of this commitment to his students and his excellence in teaching that he is honored today as a worthy recipient of the Allen P. Stewart Award. Congratulations, Mr. Golding.
We will now proceed to the conferring of honorary degrees. The recipients will be presented by the University Orator, Dr. Gwendolyn Davies. Gwen.
Sean Atleo to be Doctor of Letters. National Chief Sean Atleo was raised to become a hereditary chief of the Ahousaht First Nation, whose territory includes much of Clackowitz Sound off the west coast of Vancouver Island. In 1999, he assumed his destiny within his community, becoming chief at the age of 32. This was followed by his becoming regional chief of the British Columbia Assembly of First Nations, during which time, in 2005, he oversaw the forging of an historic leadership accord amongst First Nations leaders in British Columbia. He served 2 terms in the BC position before being elected National Chief to the Assembly of First Nations, first in 2009 and again in 2012. It is clear from even this brief summary that National Chief Atleo has a long history of service to his community. The recipient of a Master of Education degree in Adult Learning and Global Change from the University of Technology in Sydney, Australia, he has been the Executive Director of a Family Addictions Treatment Facility, the Managing Director of a private Aboriginal Post-Secondary Training Institute, and in 2008, was named Chancellor of Vancouver Island University, becoming the first Aboriginal University Chancellor in the province's history. Moreover, for decades, he has eloquently and passionately defended the interests and rights of Aboriginal peoples in Canada, articulating for governments and the public alike the damage done in the past by paternalistic and assimilationist approaches to First Nations issues. As a person holding a Master of Education degree himself, he has been eloquent in focusing on the importance of providing improved educational opportunities for First Nations youth, including full support for the teaching of Indigenous languages, history, and culture. As have other Aboriginal leaders, he has pointed to past abuses, such as residential schools, as indicative of the need for First Nations communities to be empowered to craft their own educational policies, arguing that, and I quote, anything less than full support for language and culture would absolutely fit within a continued assimilationist effort, end of quote. As well, National Chief Atleo has been a fierce advocate for the respect of treaty rights, working tirelessly to hold governments to account for agreements signed decades and centuries ago. His most recent articulation of this in October of 2013 has been on the occasion of the 250th anniversary of the Royal Proclamation of 1763, which established the foundations for treaty making between First Nations peoples and the British Crown. He has also done much to promote economic development across his various constituencies, all the while balancing the need for sustainability. It must be added that National Chief Atleo's initiatives are not confined to Canada. Indeed, his work has had an international impact, including his contributions to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and his assumption of a leadership role with the Indigenous Caucus at the Organization of American States. That being said, it is the drive for transformational change within Canada that preoccupies the majority of his time. Gaps in child welfare funding between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal families, the need for adequate housing, sewerage, and safe drinking water in Aboriginal communities, and the call for an inquiry into missing and/or murdered Aboriginal women and girls have been only a few of the issues that he has been pursuing as Grand Chief. Added to that has been First Nations' insistence that Aboriginal peoples must be part of the discussion over resource development involving First Nations lands. And I quote, "We will stand firm in our rights," he has been quoted as saying, "We will have a say." In 2012, Sean Atleo was awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal for his advocacy work on behalf of First Nations people. And it is for his contributions and leadership in the complex dialogues taking place at First Nations, Canadian, and international levels that the University of New Brunswick is proud to admit National Chief Sean Atleo to the degree of Doctor of Letters honoris causa. Insignissime praeses, amplissime cancellari, tota universitas, praegento vobis ionam Atleo ut admitatur honoris causa ad gradum doctoris in litteris in ac universitate.
Ego admitto te, ionam Atleo, honoris causa ad gradum doctoris in litteris in universitati Novi Brunswicki. It is now my privilege and a great pleasure to invite Dr. Sean Atleo to address this convocation. Grand Chief.
Thank you so much. And with all of that wonderful introduction, it doesn't mean that my luggage and my clothes made it here. They're somewhere over Eastern Ontario. And it made me think that I'm an aspiring chef, actually, an aspiring cook, restaurateur. Somehow, I don't know how, Mr. Martin, we end up keeping meeting like this on these occasions. True na atadlich chani tlak shet, sit yaksa inchat histak shit, ahozat, nu chanotlat lakish beat ma as, tak shilsisi hat hatwehiksu, malasit, Ma Chinopsik, Ma Tikitsu, as is the way of my people, come from a little fishing village of Ahousaht off the west coast of Vancouver Island. It's a tremendous privilege to be here in Maliseet territories. As is the way of my people, acknowledging that somebody else's laws are in place here, and that important ceremonies taking place, the likes of which the elder began with. Ceremony of a school whose history and memory goes a long ways back. We have Her Majesty's representative, Your Honor, along with the university leadership, President and Vice Chancellor, Mr. Campbell, Dr. Campbell, to your newly installed Chancellor, and those who've been ushered into Chancellor retirement. and former Prime Minister Paul Martin, a good friend, as well as other distinguished platform guests and friends and relatives, particularly those of you relieved parents of graduates. I spoke to one such dad just a few minutes ago who, with a deep sigh of relief, was thankful that his son was graduating here on the platform. Ceremony is important, and I want to reflect in a few minutes just a couple of messages that have everything to do with, yes, the work that I'm privileged to undertake as Assembly of First Nations National Chief, and a meeting that I just had hours ago in Elsipogtog. The first of which has to do with ceremony, that you would don these colorful robes, these hats, with parents who don't always wear shirt and ties, stuffed in them uncomfortably, that we would gather in a hall that is steeped in tradition, led by the mace that reminds us of the days gone by, the very iteration of the notion of learning, and what it's come to mean in a moment like this. And I want to reflect a little bit about ceremony. The Maliseet ceremony that we heard, the use of the drum, the recognition of the three directions, and yes, the reference to the Royal Proclamation from 250 years ago, from October 7th of this year. The marking of some of the very first interactions of mutual recognition of making meaning. For those in Doctorate of Philosophies, that these are moments of making meaning, the likes of which our collective ancestors did so long ago between the indigenous peoples of these lands and the Crown. Why I sent mucklucks to the future King George. It's received as little booties. There is still a deep relationship that goes back that reflect moments when meaning was being made, efforts to understand one another, and ceremony. Important to mark an occasion of transformation, graduates, like this with ceremony. So that it's a little bit uncomfortable, takes a little bit of time, but proper klawa istat has taken place. In my language, it means that the people, the school, and the parents, and the society, they want to show you. They want to stand you up and acknowledge the difficulties that you've come through, for this journey was not an easy one. It was intended to be difficult. Anything worth doing has got to be a great struggle. And we know for many of you, that's exactly what you encountered. Deep inner turmoil and difficulties, facing challenges you thought were insurmountable, but knowing that you had the support, though, of family and friends, and an institution that clearly cares deeply to support you. And dare I say, a country that's allowing for education to be much more than the development of human capital, as I've heard eluded into a market economy. But could it be about supporting the growth of people who are actors for a more civil world, a more civil society? This is both the opportunity, and I concur with the words that have been spoken here, a great responsibility, and therefore the second aspect or message that I would like to reflect back to you and to the family and to this institution, who I'm greatly privileged to have been nominated by the Dean of Education to be here and to receive this tremendous privilege. It was my late grandmother who, before she passed on at the age of 87, was holding my hands in the House of Commons when the Prime Minister, on behalf of all Canadians, apologized to her for sending her and all 17 of her children away to residential schools. A policy that for generations was about taking children from the grips of loving arms and families and grandparents and language and teachings and culture and time on the land, and for us coastal people, time on the water. Listening to the teachings of our elders that have been passed on from the ancestors about our obligations to carry forward philosophical views such as Hishuk nish tsawak umatsukutas nish, that perspective that Indigenous peoples the world over seem to come together to express about we are all connected and we are all one. The ceremonies help to reflect that. Ceremonies the world over and cultures the world over have that essence. Still, we find these elements in ceremonies like this of where the spiritual where it connects with the intellectual, where our work, as we describe it, is about making meaning not only between us as human beings, but also to understand Hishuk Nishtawak extends to the living environment around us, that all things are living, all things must be respected, and all things are connected. So I am asking you to join us on this journey, and I want to recognize the university for the work that you're undertaking. Universities are a place for critical thinking. They're a place to question, they're a place to challenge convention, not just accept that which we've been handed. And it's a moment that I want to reflect on in 2005, after we as Indigenous peoples in BC had come together to recognize former Prime Minister Paul Martin for sitting down with us in what is now referred to as the Kelowna Talks. We sat down and we were making meaning together. Like my late grandmother said before she passed on, when she heard the apology, she said, "Grandson, they are just beginning to see us. They are just beginning to see us." And it's in her memory and in her honor that I would accept this honorary degree here today, because to the university, and by extension, your family, you're honoring what it is my grandmother felt was occurring. So I accept this because you are seeing us in a structural way, the likes of which occurred in 2005 when Mr. Martin, as Prime Minister and me as Regional Chief, we forged what's called a Transformative Change Accord. It covered areas like education. And just this month, the very first time that this has happened in the history of Canada, jurisdiction on health has been transferred to the 203 First Nations in British Columbia. Mr. Martin, that's your work. The making of meaning, that we look to those that are in political leadership at provincial and federal levels to share in the acknowledgement that we did not create the conditions under which our people are experiencing deep poverty. None of us in this room thrust the doors open to the residential schools, nor did we write the Indian Act that we've all inherited. But we can absolutely share in not allowing the so-called complexities of these challenges to hold us back. Why? Because look at the genius that is sitting here before us. Those that have forged understandings through the difficulties of engaging in deep learning. We as people can do this. We can allow ourselves to believe, and I feel strongly that we cannot be daunted by the complexities that seem to surround us. And this is the second aspect where I close. It's really a call. It's a call on you as graduates, this university as an institution, to recognize that the ceremonies that have been undertaken are about making meaning. They're about seeing each other. They're about honoring a moment when treaties were forged here just before this university was established. Ceremonies were conducted. Words were explained that, for example, recognized that the laws of the Mi'kmaq, the Maliseet, and the Passamaquoddy were to be honored. They were to be recognized and not to be seen as subordinate. This was about nations coming together. That's why, in front of the Prime Minister, we continue to press for treaty by treaty, nation to nation, resolution to the land issue in this country. Strong, healthy First Nations will make for a stronger, healthier New Brunswick. Strong, healthy, and prosperous First Nations will make for a stronger, healthier, and more prosperous Canada. And so this is really the call that we have. This is the moment that we have inherited from those who've come before us. It's about accepting responsibility. Those of you who are graduating today have accomplished something tremendous, and it is a moment of transformation. Coming out from the challenges of learning to, as your Chancellor just reflected back, getting on with the work. And what I'm suggesting is that there is an important piece of work here in front of us. The people I represent are the fastest growing segment of the Canadian population. The vast majority are under the age of 25. I'm an old man now at 46. In 1960 and 1970, there was but a handful, perhaps a dozen Indigenous post-secondary students. One of those was my dad. He was acknowledged to be the first, if not the very first, First Nations man to achieve a doctorate degree in the history of the University of British Columbia. And when we were heading home he was told by a superintendent of education, don't bother going to teach back in a house at my village because it won't be there in 20 years. Well, I'd like to report happily that my people, the Hauset, who numbered 250 then when I was a child, are now 2,000 and strong. My dad took us home. He graduated the first group of grade 7 students, and now we have not one but 2 schools in my village. You see, as Indigenous peoples, we've come through an incredibly dark chapter in our history, and we're still struggling. And this is not a First Nation struggle. This is a struggle for the country. I believe this is our moment to grasp, though. I have tremendous hope because of moments like this when I see an institution reflecting what my grandmother knew to be happening, that is, that they're beginning to see us. And so it's with that sense of hope that I leave you with the challenge to take the time to consider the responsibility that extends to you and your family, your community, about the knowledge that you've gained, to encourage you to think about what you can do, kind of actions you can do, even beyond, in the case of Mr. Martin, the kind of work he's doing in his private life as a private citizen beyond his political office, taking on a challenge to recognize the potential of these Indigenous young people. When I look in their eyes, I know the future of our country is bright. It's full of potential if we're to seize this moment. I sat down with Martin Luther King III just last week, who referenced his late father 50 years ago, who made that famous "I Have a Dream" speech. And he said to me, make sure that you know, Sean, that your people absolutely have the right to stand up, that we have to find a way, in the spirit of the treaties here in this territory, the treaties of peace and friendship, to sit down and make meaning together. We conduct ceremony and we get on with the difficult work of reconciliation. We don't always know what's in store for us, and we don't always have in life a straight line. And I know starting a new journey can be intimidating. There can be fear when we journey to the unknown. My people are experts in navigating new territory. Now you, graduates, trust yourself. Remember to use a good mind to fulfill your collective responsibility to yourself and the broader world around you, and you will find the support and guidance you need to reach your destination and achieve your goals. True. Tleko, tleko. Thank you for this great honor. Congratulations.
Paul Martin, to be Doctor of Laws. The Right Honourable Paul Martin was born in Windsor, Ontario, into a political family. His father, Paul Martin Sr., served for 33 years as a member of the House of Commons, was a minister in the cabinets of 4 Canadian prime ministers, and was Canadian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. But after graduating from the University of Toronto in Honours Philosophy and History, and subsequently in law, Paul Martin Jr. entered the private sector as a business executive at Power Corporation of Canada, and eventually became chairman and CEO of Canada Steamship Lines, the largest fleet of self-unloading vessels and offshore transshippers in the world. However, in 1988, Paul Martin Jr. was elected to the House of Commons, representing the constituency of La Salle-et-Mar in Montreal, and held that riding until his retirement from Parliament in 2008. Becoming Liberal Minister of Finance between 1993 and 2002, he initially faced the worst deficit in the G7, forcing dramatic measures to pay down the Canadian national debt. His Herculean efforts to restore Canada's flagging economy meant that by 1998, he had eliminated Canada's $42 billion deficit and had achieved a balanced budget, thereby not only facilitating subsequent budget surpluses, but also expanding government spending and reducing income tax rates. His 1996 public consultations on the future of the Canada Pension Plan, the CPP, led to major structural reform to ensure the future of Canadian pensions. and his shrewd policies as, quote, the most influential finance minister in decades, led to Moody's and Standard & Poor's restoring Canada's battered domestic and foreign currency debt ratings to AAA in 2002. Becoming leader of the Liberal Party in 2003 by a majority of 95% over his nearest opponent, Paul Martin became Canada's 21st Prime Minister in December 2003. While in office, he worked to address national health care issues, including wait times, the need for a skilled workforce, including the importance of research and development, support for early childhood education, new financial structures for municipalities, and improved relationships with the United States. In 2005, his government introduced Bill C-38, the Civil Marriage Act, making Canada the 4th country in the world to legislate a gender-neutral definition of marriage. And in November 2005, after an 18-month period of consultations between provincial first ministers, Aboriginal leaders, and the Government of Canada, Mr. Martin's government oversaw the signing of the Kelowna Accord, allocating over $5 billion over 5 years for the improvement of First Nations education, health, employment opportunities, and living conditions. Retiring from politics in 2008, Paul Martin has continued his commitment to supporting educational and employment opportunities for First Nations youth. The Martin Aboriginal Education Initiative, which he chairs, is dedicated to reducing Aboriginal youth dropout rates and to encouraging First Nations students to get a post-secondary education. With one of his sons, he has also founded an entrepreneurship fund designed to nurture and create First Nations businesses both on and off reserves. To these commitments to the public good can be added Paul Martin's co-chairing of a United Nations report on private sector investment in the Third World, his chairing of a British-Norwegian Sustainable Development Fund for the Congo Basin Rainforest region, and his advisory council role on the Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, an initiative sponsored by the African Union, the UN Economic Commission for Africa, and the African Development Bank. His legacy in being the driving force behind the creation of the G20, now the leading international forum on financing for 20 major economies, and that's 19 countries plus the European Union, speaks to his formidable influence and reputation in the realm of international finance. For his national and international leadership, and for his commitment to the cause of humanity, both within Canada and beyond its borders, the University of New Brunswick is proud to admit the Right Honourable Paul Martin to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Insignissime praeses, amplissime cancellari, tota universitas, praesento vobis Paulum Martin ut amitatur honoris causa ad gradum doctoris in utrica iura in ac universitata.
Ego admitto te, Paulum Martin, honoris causa ad gradum doctoris in utroque iure in universitati Novi Brunswicki. It is my privilege, and indeed a great pleasure, to invite Dr. Paul Martin to address this convocation.
Thank you, President Campbell, Lieutenant Governor, Premier, Chancellor McCain, and congratulations. Elder Purley, members of the Board and Senate, Vice Presidents, Deans, members of the Maliseet Nation on whose territory we are, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the honor that the University has bestowed upon me. Let me as well, and most importantly, begin these remarks, as did Sean, by congratulating you, the graduates, who have worked so hard to get here. This is your day, and I'm very grateful that you allowed me to share it with you. One slight point of dissent. May I just say to you, President Campbell, that to present an award to somebody when everything that you have said about them is in Latin and they haven't got a clue what you said causes me a great deal of concern. I add to that my friend, Grand Chief Atleo, referring to himself as an old man at 46. Thank God for you that I'm no longer Prime Minister. You are all students, all graduates, in fields covering the widest range of intellectual pursuit. And the question I'm sure that you're now facing is, how are you going to put all of this knowledge to work? In fact, this, in one form or another, is the question that has faced graduates throughout the history of advanced education. But there is one fundamental difference today. For the world that you are about to enter is not one that faced graduates over the last half-century. At the root of this difference is the issue of increasing inequality, of the rich getting wealthier, the poor less so, and the middle class being squeezed out of existence. And indeed, this is rapidly becoming, if I was to make an assessment, the dominant economic and social conundrum of our age. Now, I refer here not so much to the inequality about nations, between nations, which is in fact slowly eroding as the last vestiges of the old imperialism fade away, but the inequality within nations, as the shrinking of the globe and the increase of ever-advancing technologies create a new paradigm with which we have yet to come to grips. Now, unfortunately, Canada is not immune to these consequences. And it's in this context that I'd like to take the time that's been given to me this afternoon to talk to you about one aspect of this new paradigm. One which, because it directly targets the youngest and the fastest growing segment of our population, Aboriginal Canadians, and you've just heard Grand Chief Sean Atleo discuss this. It's an issue that goes to the heart of what I believe is one of the most important moral and economic issues we face as a country. That issue is the unfairness stemming from the gross underfunding by the government of the First Nations education system. And I put to you, the paradox that we face is that which should be the great leveler, that is to say, education, is in fact at the present time one of the prime causes of our country's deepest inequality. Free elementary and secondary school education is a right in Canada. And the fact that education on reserve is so underfunded, the fact that Aboriginal Canadians are supposed to do more with less, is an overt act of unspeakable discrimination. I ask you, as you now graduate from this great university and look ahead, how can we teach the Charter of Rights in our schools when government itself violates its ethics? How can we tolerate a situation where there are today more Aboriginal students in jail and in foster care than there ever were in the residential schools? Or look at it another way. As the rest of the world catches up to North America, Canada's 35 million people will have to compete not only with the United States, but with the gigantic global populations outside our country's borders. And that being the case, ask yourself, why in heaven's name do we cripple our potential as a country to be a global player by ignoring the education of so many of our youngest and brightest, because that's what we're doing. Now, there are those who will reply that we cannot increase funding for Aboriginal education because of the deficit. Well, let me tell you, I can be accused of many things, but not understanding deficits is not one of them. There is spending you can delay. You can delay a road if you want. You can delay a building if you have to deal with a faulty balance sheet. But when you delay the funding that allows 6-year-olds to learn how to read and write by grade 3, you are telling them that they will have to play catch up for the rest of their lives. And no government has the right to do that. For this reason, it is a great privilege for me to receive this honorary degree alongside Grand Chief Sean Atleo, for whom education has always been his priority. He's led in the battle to change the realities of the current system, realities which can be seen in the staggering high school dropout rates of our young Aboriginal Canadians. And the reasons for those dropouts are not hard to find. Some are the consequences of the residential school legacy going back 150 years. But others, such as the underfunding of schools, are the fault of those who are very much alive today. And the question I would put to you is, how could we have followed up, and you heard Sean talk about it, how could we have followed up on the demise of the residential schools with a new education system that's fallen so short of the real needs of unreserved students, especially when we know the history that the Grand Chief has just talked about? And there is no doubt in my mind that if Canadians were truly aware of the disparities that are being borne by Indigenous students today, they would be outraged at the unfairness. The Premier of Saskatchewan said the other day that, in fact, on-reserve students in his province get 50% of the funding that his province provides in the public schools. And thus we come to the real question: if they have that kind of inequity, why aren't Canadians more aware of it? Why aren't we more aware of it? And I believe the answer is straightforward, and it's the one that I think that you've got to address, all of you here. It is because we live in silos. It's because we only reach out to each other from our isolated towers, if at all, through the nightly news. And what does that mean? It means when Aboriginal children suffer because of an emergency, because of poor housing or clean water, that's the stuff of newspapers, it's the stuff of television pictures, and the fact is that governments are forced to act even if inadequately. But cameras cannot capture children who are suffering for a want of learning, and hence their calls for help are rarely heard. So what do we have to do? We have to break down the barriers that really are between us as a people. And so whether you are graduating in education, as so many of you are, or any one of the faculties that are represented here at this great university, I believe that breaking down the silos that divide us from our neighbors is the single most important thing that we can do, and it must be part and parcel of your lives. Quite simply, the issues that we face as a country cannot be held hostage to a misunderstanding between us. You only have to look, again, as Sean just said, as the Grand Chief just said, at what's happening near Elsie Bucktalk to see how we cannot allow these kinds of concerns to fester. To this end, you are very, 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 very lucky to be graduating from UNB, from what is a great Canadian university. A university that has been a leader in raising awareness on both sides of these issues for 3 decades through the Mi'kmaq Maliseet Institute. In the same context, I would personally very much want to thank the Dean Ann Sherman, for the important role that she has played with so many of you here at the university. But I've seen the role she plays across the province and in the country. And that is the kind of thing that I think is absolutely crucial, the kind of role that I would hope so many of you will play throughout your lives. That you've gone to this great university gives you a unique opportunity to spearhead Canada's efforts to meet the demands of a rising world outside our borders. But this will only happen if we ensure that fairness and equity within our borders is there. As we face new and tough competition, and I know a little bit about this from the gigantic populations of China, India, and Brazil, it is clear that we have to rely more than on simply the storehouse of the natural resources that we have. That we have to foster the talents of every single person who walks upon this ground. And if we're going to do that, we're going to take on the rest of the world and win. Let me tell you, we must build an economy in which there are no silos, one in which our greatest strength is our ability to really cross the cultural barriers that lie between us. This is your challenge. This country can never be any stronger than its moral fiber. And it is you who hold the future of Canada in your hands. It is you who has a chance to build a country whose moral fiber will in fact be the basic building block of its economic strength. This is your world to change. It is your Canada to define. And you then say to me, well, wait a minute, why are you putting all of this on us on the day of this great party? Which I suspect it's going to be. The reason is, and I really mean this, you are here today because you worked very hard, but you're also here today because you have made the right choices. And that speaks so well of you. It speaks of you, it speaks of your families, your relatives, it speaks of all of these people who are beside you and who are looking down on you. They have supported you through the process of your education, and they are so proud of you. Look at them. They are so proud of me, and they only ask for one thing, that you succeed and that I stop talking. And so, let me simply say that there is nobody in this room who doesn't envy you for what you're about to do, especially me. So let me simply say it in summary. Canada is yours to make better. Good luck, and congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. You know, one of the joys of my life being a president of this university is that we have two campuses, one of them in St. John, the other one here in Fredericton. I get to drive back and forth frequently. When I'm not on the phone pestering the people I work with, I'm often listening to music, and I was reminded as both of these great men, full of passion and accomplishment, in the words of a song that I listen to and that I quite enjoy, was resonating in my head as I listened to them both. If not now, when? If not us, who? And think about that at your leisure. We will now proceed to the conferring of degrees in course. May I extend to all of you who graduate here today the warmest congratulations of your university. When you first came here as a student, you became a member of the UNB family. Today, all of this family, teachers, colleagues, friends, staff, faculty, administrators, share your pride in reaching this important milestone in your life. We recognize your hard work and your sacrifice, and we wish you every success and every happiness in the future, not to mention the hard work that these two people have just given you. We hope that you will always value what you have learned here and that you will forever remember your alma mater with great fondness. As each of you receives your degree today, you will be presented with a University of New Brunswick alumni pin by the Associated Alumni. This part of our ceremony begins with the bachelor's degrees, which will be followed by the master's and doctoral degrees. Candidates for the bachelor's degrees will be presented by the university orator.
Degrees in course, bachelor's. The bachelor's degrees of Arts, Applied Arts, Science, Medical Laboratory Science, Science and Engineering, Science in Forestry, Science in Environment and Natural Resources, Business Administration, Science in Kinesiology, Recreation and Sports Studies, Computer Science, Information Systems, Education and Philosophy, and Integrated Studies. Candidates will remain seated for the supplication. Insignissimi praeses, amplissime cancelari, supplicant senatui et vi venerabili collegio gubernatorum, hi baccalauri vel scholaris in facultate artium, in facultate scientiae, in facultate ingenieria, in facultatae silviculturae et rerum naturalium curandarum, in facultate administrationis rerum negotiosarum, in facultate kinesiologica, in facultate rerum computandarum, in facultate educationis, in collegio restaurationis. Quorum nomina ac studia iam riti cognita sunt et promulgata, ut abitanter ad proprium baccalauri, gradum in sua quisque facultate.
Placetni vobis, senatores, placetni gubernatores, ut his supplicatores admittanter.
The supplicants for all the bachelor's degrees will now stand for presentation by the orator and admission by the president. Insignissimi praeses, amplissime cancelari, tota universitas, praesento vobis hosce supplicatoris in supra dictus facultatibus, ut admittantur et proprium baccalauri gradum in sua quisque facultate. Testorco illos, coed omnia quae statuta nostra requirent aptos et idoneus esse.
Ego admitto, vos ad gradum baccalaureae in Universitati Novi Brunswicki.
You will now proceed in your assigned order onto the dais for individual acceptance. The Acting Dean of Arts, Dr. John Ball, will present the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Applied Arts diplomas. Bachelor of Arts with honors. Oluwatomi Yayo Rebecca Belay. Peter Yuen. Aditunji Idris Lawal. Bachelor of Arts, Julie Ann Glaspie. Mary Amanda Robichaud. Amanda Kimber Backer. Jonathan David Allward. John Robert Baxter. Sarah Rose Legier. Laura Kate Marie Perry. Michael Andrew Sharkey. The Dean of Science, Dr. Stephen Hurd, will present the Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Medical Laboratory Science diplomas. Colleen Yvonne Parker. Sean Sanson Chamberlain. Jessica Lindsay Richardson. The Dean of Engineering, Dr. David Coleman, will present the Bachelor of Science in Engineering diplomas. Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Frank William Adu. Khalida Afrin Bart. John Matthew Black. Luke Cormier. Corey Lawrence Griffin. Ryan Joseph Lister. Jeremy Wade McKinley. Mark Thomas Rosinal. Ryan David Tays. Lloyd Drew Thibodeau. The Dean of Business Administration, Dr. Devashish Mitra, will present the Bachelor of Business Administration diplomas. Bachelor of Business Administration with honors, Jean-Claude Campeau. Ashley Carolyn Howard. Dang Min Nguyen. Mustafa Ali Shaker. Minjae Zhu. Arafa Ali Lafafa. Bachelor of Business Administration, Sarah Urshad. Mirel Amal George. Erica Rial Moligard. Valerie Lynn Olmsted. Arif Ali Atif. Haley Marie Bungay. Pamela Rose Goodfellow. Constance Louise Hambrook. Tyler Richard Hilchey. Bing Chin Lo. Christopher William McCrae. Laura Ann McGuire. Dana Khaled Mumina. Roxanne Stacy Prasad. Nicholas Arthur Reinex. Brennan Scott Somerville. Cody Robert George Stokes. Andrew Carmen Trainer. Bradley Christian Walton. Lei Wang. Angel Marie Ward. The Dean of Kinesiology, Dr. Wayne Albert, will present the Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Bachelor of Recreation and Sports Studies diplomas. Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, Sarah Marie Kendra Hallett. Tyler Graham Morrison. Bachelor of Recreation and Sports Studies, Michael Sorensen. The Assistant Dean of Computer Science, Dr. Andrew McAllister, will present the Bachelor of Computer Science and Bachelor of Information Systems diplomas. Bachelor of Computer Science, Mawish Mazar. Bachelor of Information Systems, Babatunde Kukoyi. The Dean of Education, Dr. Ann Sherman, will present the Bachelor of Education diplomas. Bachelor of Education, Cody Robert Alderson. Nadia Bernice Arsenault. Kevin Joseph Bourque. Dustin Earl Ernest Clark. Jillian Dawn Crawley. Andrea Jean Davis. Nicole Ingrid DeMerchant. Cynthia Ray Farrell. Robin Lynn Garnier. Melissa Lee Gadet. Jessica Ann Griffin. Paige Louise Guptill. Leanne Haggerty. Kara Liana Halpert. Patrick Sean Lamrock. Michael Donald Langtang. Nicholas David LeBlanc. Stephanie Joanna McClellan. Danielle Kimberly Mann. Katie Joyce Marshall. Elizabeth Ann Shirley MacArthur. Catherine Dawn McCluskey. Derek Allen Joseph Ness. Jessica Lynn Pattison. Michael David Peters. Kara Ann Pond. Bronwyn Elizabeth Pritchard. Natalie Filomeno Ribeiro. Mallory Moyer Richard. Amanda Christine Robichaud. Chantel Maureen Sampson. Alexandra Margaret Black. Stacy Melissa Delaney. Melissa Marie Hanscom. Adam Joel Langell. Sean Michael McManaman. Ashley Sarah Prout. Christopher Jeffrey Smith. Shona May Sark. Colton Wade Wilson. The Dean of Renaissance College, Dr. Cynthia Stacy, will present the Bachelor of Philosophy and Bachelor of Integrated Studies diplomas. Bachelor of Philosophy, Danielle Julie Bellier. Bachelor of Integrated Studies, Kimberly Suzanne Moore. Alex Marchand.
We shall now confer the master's degrees in course. The candidates will be presented by the Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Edmund Biden.
The master's degrees of Arts, Philosophy and Policy Studies, Science, Science and Engineering, Engineering, Science and Forestry, Forestry, Science and Forest Engineering, Environmental Management, Computer Science, Education, Arts and Sport and Recreation Administration, Arts and Sport and Recreation Studies, Science and Exercise and Sport Science, Business Administration, Nursing, Applied Health Services Research, and Interdisciplinary Studies. The candidates will remain seated for the supplication. Insignissime praeses implicime cancellari supplicant senatui et huic venerabili collegio gubernatorum hi baccalaureae vel scholares in facultate artium, in facultate scientiae, in facultate ingenieria, in facultate silviculturae e rerum naturalium curandarum, in facultate rerum computandarum, in facultate educationis, in facultate kinesiologica, in facultate administrationis rerum negotiosarum, in facultate nutricia, in collegio restaurationis, quorum nomina ac studia iam rite cognitus sunt et promulgata, ut admittanter ad proprium magistri gradum in sua quisque facultate.
Placetni vobis, senatores, placetni gubernatores, ut hi supplicatores admittanter.
Placet. The supplicants for the aforesaid master's degrees will stand for the presentation and admission by the President. Insignissime praeses, implicime cancellari tota universitas, presento vobis hosca supplicatores in superdictus facultatibus, ut admittanter ad proprium magistri gradum in sua quisque facultate, testorque ilias quoad omnius quae statuto nostro requirant aptos et idonius esse.
Ego admitto vos ad gradum magistri in Universitati Novi Brunswicki.
You will now proceed in your assigned order onto the dais for individual acceptance. Demetrius Trifonopoulos, Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies, will present the master's diplomas. Master of Arts, Matthew Edward Douglas. Tricia Lee Jarrett. Brittany Lowton. Marilyn Sarah McGrath. Master of Science, Nora Mohammed Adwan Al-Shobrami. Evan Craig Dracup. Sarah Elizabeth Johnson. Stephanie Ann Richardson. Allison Lynn Ritzy. Master of Science in Engineering, Armin Abedini. Mehdi Afrouche. Megan Ann Sheree Finn. Dibyendu Debnath. Seema Lashkari. Murad Abdul Karim Mohammed. Nima Pascal Shija. Brendan Caleb Wood. Master of Engineering, David Allen Brody. Master of Forestry, Heidi Marguerite Ertl. Master of Science in Forest Engineering, Quinyi Zhu. Master of Environmental Management, Nadine Marie Cassé-Long. Timothy James McDonald. Master of Computer Science, Ao Cheng. Dong Dong. Saeed Muhammad Hassan. Manfred Jandrosh. Daniel Nicholas Latimer. Shirag Sharawat. Andrew Somerville. Eckert Gandalf Zusenberger. Emily Catherine Mary Wilson. Shozhen Zhang. Wei-Ki Zhang. Master of Education, Corrine Lorraine Barrett-Smith. Debbie Ann Lee Berrio. April Lindsay Bauman. Holly Faye Boudreau. Carl Burgess. Robin Vanessa Byers. Lindsay Carla Carlton. Kimberly Ann Christie Gallant. Carolyn Elizabeth Conacher. Patty Lynn Darling. Dawn Edith Marie Dignam. Stephanie Lauren Dodge. Sherry Lynn Jeanette Dawerga. Heather Margaret Donovan. Denise Roxanne Dorcas. Michael Allen Edwards. Jessica Darlene Fenton. Kevin Barry McLeod Foster. Susan Catherine Gallant. Aaron Lee Gibbs. Peter John Gorham. Jana Victoria Graham. Stephen Allen Harding. Marion Lynn Hiltz. Ruth Elizabeth Hiscock. Diana Marie Hosford. Kelly Elizabeth Humber Kelly. Joellen Maud Jensen. Ryan Scott Jones. Rebecca Dawn Kennedy. Teresa Joan Ketchum-Boudreau. Megan Eileen Kyle. Mary Kathleen Morton LaFrance. Andrea Rosalind Leslie. Carla Jane Lowther. Patricia Marie McKenzie. Jared Lee Mallard. Heather Maria Mazerol. Mary Angela McQuaid Murphy. Cindy Anita Miller. Mansouri Nasser Chian. Jana Catherine Nicole. Tina June Noble. Jacqueline Karubo Ondari. Heather Ruth Palmer. Yvonne Pelche. James William Rowinski. Sean Solis. Jacqueline Diane Saunders. Kimberly Ann Skilleter Blakely. Victoria Lynn Sparks. Annette June Stayhauer. Megan Adair Stevens. Carolyn Ann Sutherland. Jeffrey Alphonse Toner. Terry Marie Weir. Heather Ann Welling. Mary Elizabeth Wright. Master of Arts in Sport and Recreation Administration, Carolyn Frances Pepin. Master of Arts in Sport and Recreation Studies, Michelle Carey DeCourcy. Master of Science in Exercise and Sports Science, Jennifer Sarah Charters. Maggie Pauline Yeamans. Master of Business Administration, Assam Awad Al-Habsi. Candace Azella Lee Sears. Master of Nursing, Rachel Bernice McCarville. Claire Catherine Williams. Master of Applied Health Services Research, Jean Elizabeth Burgess.
We shall now confer the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy. The candidates will be presented by Dr. Biden.
The degree Doctor of Philosophy candidates will stand for the supplication. Insignissime praeses amplissime cancelare supplicant senatui et huic venerabili collegio gubernatorum Patrick Wetarni Ada, Geomatics Engineering, Abdul Hamid Akbarzadeh Shafarudi, Mechanical Engineering, Kyoji An, Chemical Engineering, Andrea Michelle Boyle, Clinical Psychology, Janice Lynn Campbell, Interdisciplinary Studies, Susan Lita Clayton, Biology, Sameh Ahmed Yusri El Nagar, Electrical Engineering, David John Albert Ford, Interdisciplinary Studies, James David Hogan, Mechanical Engineering, Catherine Ruth Holtman, Sociology, Sergei Kazashenko, Chemistry, Henry Maliki Kiwilu, Forestry, Peter John Cooling, English, Susan Paula Lavoie, Clinical Psychology, Sarah Dawn Macaulay, Clinical Psychology, Thomas Ubahembo Achidhudo, Forestry, Adnani Osmani, Physics, Abrar Saeed, Chemical Engineering, Luis Serrano, Geomatics Engineering, Rashita Sharma, Computer Science, Christelle Shaughnessy, Clinical Psychology, Summer Mohammed Shohab, Interdisciplinary Studies, P.T. Srisuk Vatananan, Chemical Engineering, Weiji Wang, Chemical Engineering, Bing Wei, Chemical Engineering, Dan Zhao, Physics. Magistri vel baccalaureae ut admittantur ad gradum philosophiae doctoris.
Placetni vobis, senatoris, placetni, gubernatoris, ut hi supplicatoris admittantur.
Placet. The candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy will come forward and stand before the dais for admission. This is more than we've ever had before. Insignissime praeses amplissime cancelari tota universitas presento vobis hosca supplicatoris ut admittantur ad gradum. Philosophiae doctoris destorque ilios quoad omnia quae statuta nostra requirant aptos et idonios esse.
Ego admitto vos ad gradum philosophiae doctoris in Universitati Novi Brunswicki.
You will now proceed in your assigned order onto the dais for individual acceptance. Patrick Wetarni Ada. Dr. Ada's in geomatics engineering. Dr. Ada investigated the inability of end users to independently validate LiDAR elevation accuracy due to constantly changing systems and technology, and has demonstrated significant improvements in estimating project error budgets. His findings will contribute to enabling end users to better analyze the strengths and limitations of LiDAR elevation data for fitness for use in engineering applications and in planning responses to natural disasters like floods. Kiaoji An. Dr. An investigated the preparation and application of PVA-based thermal-sensitive hydrogel microgels and demonstrated that hydrogels she developed can be applied in a number of industrial applications. Her findings will contribute to further studying smart hydrogels. Andrea Michelle Boyle. Dr. Boyle investigated the role and impact that written communication through social media has on dating relationships and has demonstrated that written communication improves relationship intimacy, communication quality, and knowing partners well beyond contributions from in-person communication between partners. Her findings will contribute to improving the clinical practices of therapists who see young adults and distressed couples. Janice Lynn Campbell. Dr. Campbell investigated the range of workplace wellness programs available in New Brunswick and has identified the factors which act as facilitators or barriers to the development and implementation of workplace wellness in organizations both with and without programs. Her findings will contribute to filling a gap in published New Brunswick data regarding the range of workplace wellness programs in the province. Sameh Ahmed Yusri El Nagar. Dr. El Nagar investigated the coupling of electromagnetic resonators and has demonstrated significant improvements to the understanding of the physical origin and to the methods of analysis. His findings will contribute to the fields of magnetic resonance, wireless power transfer, and chiral materials. David John Albert Ford. Dr. Ford investigated the history of making myoelectric hands and arms. His findings will contribute to understanding of how research, development, and innovation occurs and has changed during the period from 1945 to the present. Catherine Ruth Holtman. Dr. Holtman investigated social networks among immigrant women. Her focus on the role of religious social networks during the early years of the settlement process contributes to a deeper understanding of the complex inequalities that impact women from ethno-religious minority groups and highlights the strength and resources upon which they rely during the present time of increased diversification of maritime society. Sergei Kazachenko. Dr. Kazachenko worked to enhance theoretical methods for global energy optimization of hydrogen-bonded clusters and has demonstrated significant improvement in their performance and application range. His findings will contribute to improving the material structure, research methods, and eventually better understanding of the structure of water. Henry Maliki Kulilu. Dr. Kulilu has investigated enhancing the use of timber products in high-rise heavy timber buildings and has demonstrated through his detailed investigation of finite element models and intensive experiments that engineered wood products can be used in heavy timber structures. His findings will contribute to the enhanced use of timber in high-rise building and development of the National Construction Codes of Canada. Peter John Cooling. Dr. Cooling investigated adaptations of Shakespeare by English and French-Canadian gay male playwrights and has demonstrated how their work challenges our normative assumptions about national and sexual identities during performances. His findings will contribute to expanding our understanding of how queer authors have historically used drama to fight for sexual and civil rights across Canada. Susan Paula Lavoie. Dr. Lavoie investigated stereotype perceptions of women with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis and has demonstrated that several factors, often unrelated to how women are actually functioning, can impact judgments. Sarah Dawn McCauley. Dr. McCauley investigated a psychosocial ethnography of the commonplace to examine female university students' negotiation of the institution of residence life with specific examination of 5 organizational moments that complicated their experience. Her findings will contribute to improving the understanding of female students' psychological, cognitive responses to institutional challenges along with coping strategies. Thomas Odhiambro Achudo. Dr. Achudo investigated the potential economic impacts of climate change on forest and agricultural sectors across Canada, the United States, and globally by developing a state-of-the-art economic simulation model, and has demonstrated the potential for significant and disproportionate economic impacts across regions. His findings will contribute to an enhanced understanding of the economic impacts of climate change and will help inform decision-making by governments and industry regarding climate change adaptation and mitigation initiatives. Abrar Saeed, Dr. Saeed investigated the separation of dissolved organics from hardwood-based industrial pre-hydrolysis liquor with least energy consumption and has demonstrated significant improvements for the fractionation of pre-hydrolysis liquor in producing bio-based fuels. His findings will contribute to the knowledge of converting a kraft pulp mill into a dissolving pulp biorefinery. Christelle Shaughnessy. Dr. Shaughnessy investigated heterosexual adults' use of the internet for sexual interactions with other people and has demonstrated that the nature of the relationship between the two people is an essential component of understanding their experiences. Her findings will contribute to a better understanding of how people's use of technology may enhance rather than detract from their online sexual lives and sexual relationships. Samar Mohammed Shahab. Dr. Shoaib investigated the academic experiences and related socioeconomic effects on international and immigrant adult students who participated in university or settlement programs in English as a second language education in New Brunswick. She's demonstrated the discovery of significant factors affecting their performance and acculturation. Her findings will contribute to restructuring adult English second language instruction programs to meet the needs and goals of adult immigrant and international students. P.T. Sri Sukvatananan. Chemical engineering. Dr. Sri Sukvatananan investigated corrosion and sampling representativeness in power plant systems and has demonstrated significant improvement in understanding corrosion phenomenon and corrosion product and chemistry monitoring. His findings will contribute to improving corrosion control and monitoring in thermal power plants. Weiji Wang. Dr. Wang investigated the role of chemical dispersant and oil mineral aggregates in the reclaiming of oil spills and has demonstrated significant improvement in the theory of oil mineral aggregates formation mechanism. His findings will contribute to reducing the use of toxic chemical dispersants and increasing the performance of oil mineral aggregates, which will help to clean up oil spills effectively. Bing Wei. Dr. Wei investigated the performance of polymeric systems in enhanced heavy oil recovery and has demonstrated the significant increase of oil recovery by polymer flooding. His findings will contribute to the development of heavy oil recovery techniques. Dan Zhao. Dr. Zhao investigated new data sampling and image reconstruction methods for rock core magnetic resonance imaging and has demonstrated significant improvements in the measurement sensitivity. Her findings will contribute to the study of petroleum reservoir rock core plugs and the examination of potential enhanced oil recovery methodologies. This concludes the granting of degrees in course.
Congratulations, graduates. Please note that an English translation of your diploma has been placed inside the folder behind the parchment. In 2011, on the occasion of UNB's 225th anniversary, a new tradition was introduced, the UNB coin. I'd like to thank all those who made this tradition possible, from the committee who worked hard to get the coin just right, to the associated alumni who made a significant financial contribution in support of the project. We hope this coin will carry your individual memories of a life-changing experience at UNB and serve as a reminder that when you combine an ambitious goal and personal dedication, you can attain anything. Maybe more importantly, let this coin be a symbol that you were, are, and will always be part of our family, the worldwide family of thousands of UNB alumni who work to better our world each and every day. We hope you hold your coin with pride. We're certainly very proud of you. We know you leave us with more knowledge, a greater sense of community, and the potential to make a significant difference in the quality of your own lives and the lives of those you touch as you take the next step in life's journey. Congratulations on a job well done, and I now invite representatives from UNB's faculty, staff, and alumni to present the 2013 UNB coin.
I would now like to call upon Mark Bedard, President of the UNB Associated Alumni, to deliver the welcome to our new alumni. Mark.
Your Honor, honorary degree recipients, Mr. Chancellor, former chancellors, Mr. President, family and friends of UNB, and good afternoon, graduates. It is an honor to share this special day with you and to officially welcome you to UNB's alumni family. What an exciting day this is for you as graduates and for your family and friends. Congratulations. While today certainly marks an important milestone for each of you, UNB's Associated Alumni is also celebrating a milestone this year. The association is now 150 years old, making it one of the oldest alumni organizations in the country. What originally began as an association of little more than 200 graduates has grown today into a worldwide network of some 78,000 alumni. That is to say, you are now part of an extensive network of individuals that collectively represents UNB's greatest assets. I am hopeful that during your time here at UNB, you became cognizant of the important role alumni play in enhancing the overall student experience. Whether it was support for tangible things like buying books, funding campus rec programs, helping students participate in conferences, study abroad programs, or alumni contributions to UNB scholarship and bursary programs. These are all contributions to help students succeed. Alumni also help by mentoring students, helping them find meaningful work and co-op opportunities, and helping them prepare for their careers. Alumni share their expertise and advice with the people who manage the university. Alumni get involved in UNB events and activities across the country and around the world. Alumni help convince others to entrust UNB with their children's education, and alumni act as ambassadors, helping us share UNB's story. Your impact on the world will certainly be great, but please remember that your impact on UNB, even once you leave, can be just as great. As the UNB Associated Alumni, we foster the link that keeps you informed about what is happening at your alma mater, providing events and activities to keep you connected with each other and to our future student body. Your involvement serves to strengthen our family, so I encourage each of you to keep in touch and stay engaged. We are looking forward to hearing about the next stages of your journey, where you end up, and the positive impact that you will have on your community and the global world. Congratulations on your success, and welcome to the UNB alumni family. We are honored to have you join us.
On behalf of the Chancellor, the Board of Governors, the Senate, and the faculty, I extend to all who have received their degrees here today our most sincere congratulations on your achievement and our very best wishes for the future. For some of you, your journey to this day has been very challenging indeed, challenges overcome on a daily basis. For others of you, it was less difficult to get to this today. For all of you, this marks a very significant achievement, and I would venture to guess that most of you did not get here all on your own. For those of you who are fortunate enough to have friends and family gathered around you, for those of you whose friends and family is at a far distance, I would ask you to stand up, face these people who are here, and give them a round of applause for all they've done for you. Thank you. Please be seated. A sincere thank you, as always, to the St. John's String Quartet, David Adams, Larissa Chitty, Christopher Buckley, and Sonia Adams, and trumpeter Robert Dutton for providing the music for our 59th Convocation. A pleasure as always. Thank you. An event like this does not happen without a small army of people who have assisted with them and worked hard to make sure that this day was as pleasant and as mistake-free for all of you. Thank you very much to all of those who have helped out with this convocation. Thank you. At the conclusion of this ceremony, which I assure you is upon us, everyone is cordially invited to attend a reception in the cafeteria of the Student Union building. You should note that a photo booth has been set up at the reception there for you to capture more memories with your family and your friends. It is now my pleasure to invite Mary Kathleen LaFrance, who received her Master of Education degree here this evening, to come up onto the platform and lead us in the singing of O Canada. I would ask that everyone please rise and please remain in your places until the academic procession has retired at the end of the anthem. Kate.
True. Thank you.